Arsenal on Saturday could really show this league we can win this title. We're not just contenders. We are putting our hands up to say we are the front runners. Liverpool aren't as good as I think the table shows them to be. They're a good side and they can beat us, but they're not great. If we can go there and win, I'm telling you, people start looking at us differently. Gabriel and Saliba I think it's unofficial, that probably the best centre-back pairing in the Premier League.
Hit the like button, people. Subscribe to the Football Terrace, please. Of course, turn on bell notifications. Really important to us that you get that done. YouTube doesn't like to send out notifications. There's a lot of you that watch, but I know you don't always know when we go live or put out content, so make sure you have that done. Big claims here on AFTV. Excellent podcast as well. Arsenal this weekend to become the front runners. If I was to rephrase that, it would be Arsenal will scare you. Any Arsenal fear you've had could double, treble, or finally arrive if you're not somebody that's feared them as a threat in the last 12 to 18 months. Do you agree? Not with me. I'm just telling you how I've interpreted this statement. But Arsenal this weekend against Liverpool to become the front runners. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, because that is a massive claim. Arsenal fans with chest, Arsenal fans believing that they are the best team in England right now. You have to say you're the front runners. And I know that's not every gooner. I know some of you will disagree. But I'm liking the chest. I'm liking the confidence. I still personally think Man City are the favourites, even though they're 5 points off the top. But it's a very, very interesting point being raised. Let's listen to some more what's being said.
Looking at us differently. Gabriel and Saliba I think it's unofficial, that probably the best centre-back pairing in the Premier League. Make it official. They need to make Darwin Núñez, who I don't rate at all. Darwin Núñez, for me, should be playing for bloody Luton.
Luton. Now, that's a big claim. I can't help but think of my friends, the football gods. And when you make these claims, could it come back to bite Arsenal on the backside this weekend? Let me know what you think and feel. But according to my guy here on AFTV, Arsenal will be scaring you. They will be scaring you by the end of this weekend.
And they could overtake them if they're not very good themselves in the running.
Do you think we as a football watching public overreact these days to every spillage of points by any of the big teams? Because we've got into this mindset.
Yes, there is straight away, there is an overreaction to... I was thinking about Man United today, and that we're looking to bring in Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, Blanc. We might set a plan in action where Man United fans say, it feels really good. We might start to improve. And then every time there's a draw or a defeat, there'll be a, see, you said you were getting better. There's always an overreaction, but I don't think it's new. I think it has always existed. We just hear it more now because of social media.
In the City era of 95, 6, 8, 100 points to win the Premier League. And perhaps, actually, this time they will all spill a few points and somebody will win it with 88.
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, look what they've achieved in the last few years. They've been absolutely off the scale sensational in terms of the points tally. But if you set a standard, that's your standard. If you drop below that, then people are obviously going to say it's a drop in standards. And that's all we're saying. It's un-City-like. It's not Pep.
Look, Man City, the standards of I wouldn't even say the standards have dropped. I think they've become a little bit complacent. And I think they've bought badly. But they're still one of the best teams in the world. They're going to become world champions. They're the favourites for the Champions League. And they're still the favourites for the Prem. And I don't think we should be disrespecting Liverpool, disrespecting Arsenal, disrespecting Aston Villa, disrespecting Tottenham. There hasn't been a huge drop-off from Man City. I've been deliberating over this opinion for a while now, and I feel like I'm pretty much set in stone with this. Everybody else has just got better. And I'll give you an example. If you watch a video of a Lamborghini driving at 200 miles an hour and that the camera is stationary, it flies by. But if you suddenly have 3 or 4 cars all going a similar speed and the camera is running alongside them, it looks slower. The Lamborghini is still going in and around the same speed, But because you've got other cars around it going as quickly and the camera is keeping up with it, suddenly from a perspective point of view, it will look and appear as though it's going slower. Now, what's really interesting about it, same when you go parachute jumping, people still believe that when you pull your parachute, you shoot back up in the air. You don't. The reason it appears that way is because the person holding the camera has not opened their parachute yet. So the person with the parachute starts falling slower than the person who hasn't opened the parachute. But the optical illusion is that the person with the parachute flies up in the air. I learned that at science at school and it stuck with me. And it's the same principle here. It's that you haven't got that much worse. Everybody else has got better. And I've been saying this for years. The 100 points totals, the high 90 points totals, those teams were brilliant. But they were brilliant teams by themselves. Everybody else was a million miles away from them. You had 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are closing that gap, and it's less points for everybody at the top. But that doesn't mean the league has got worse. In fact, in my personal opinion, I think the league has got stronger. But I'd love your thoughts and I'd love your feelings, people.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
I find what Gabby said last night incredible as well, saying we need to apologise and, this is how far United have fallen off. I don't think there's a Manchester United fan or decent pundit in the world that expected Manchester United to do anything else. You're playing top of the league, the best team in the league at the moment. They've won 7 games in a row. Manchester United go to Old Trafford, park the bus and get a point, and we're meant to be embarrassed by that. If we do anything if somebody can tell me a different tactic to do at Anfield on Sunday, I'm sure Eric Ten Hag would have tried it. That was the only thing we could do. Most Man United fans accept it, and the reason is because Liverpool are way better than us, just like Arsenal, Man City. Manchester United have just crashed out of Europe. We got beat by Bournemouth at home comprehensively. We're not in a good place. We've gone to Anfield. We've parked the bus. And that's the reality of where we are. We've got nothing to apologise for. The challenge.
Mark is spot on. Absolutely spot on. This is the problem. And it was said earlier by the question there from to Gary Neville on Sky Sports. Do we overreact? Now, there is always an overreaction to a team dropping. People are saying Man City are finished. Stupidity of a comment. It really, really is. Arsenal, if they don't beat Liverpool, people say, that's it. They can't win the league. Dumb, stupid opinion. Far too overreactionary. But equally, Man United fans, we're never going to apologise to you for us being where we are as a club. But we're embarrassed about where we stand as a club. But in the isolation, in the nuance of one game in particular, parking the bus and getting a draw was about as good as we could do. And I had this argument with Lee Gunner yesterday, who said Man United fans should expect to be able to go and score goals at Liverpool. In the grand scheme of things, yes, but in that particular game, at this moment, he predicted us to lose 4-0 because he said we'd get battered. And then he expects Man United fans who know our club better to think that we can go there and score 2-3 goals. We know that we don't have that in us right now. Rightly or wrongly, we don't. So Man United did the right thing. Man United fans being happy with that draw. I'm not happy from a perspective of I'm happy with the way we are as a club, but it was just that individual result. And that's something that needs to come back. Fans, I've always said, need to be fans. But Man United fans have got to start, and all fans have got to start living in the reality of the current situation that they are in. Because there's no way Barcelona fans may want to get back to the Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta days. But to expect their team, with the players they have, to do that this weekend is ridiculous because they're not there yet. It took them time to get to the Messi, Iniesta, Xavi standard. They've fallen off massively from that. They can't just click their fingers and be back there. What the standard should be is to progress back to that point. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's my personal opinion.
Crazy stat for you. Anthony, Højlund, Martial, Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho, 3 Premier League goals between them. And Havertz, who hasn't had a great season. 4. What does that say about them guys, though? Yeah. Like, it's not good enough, mate. Like, they're going through each game, haven't scored, no problem. Haven't scored, no problem. Like, you're paying for Manchester United, you're earning crazy money, big transfer fees. Yeah, they need to be getting more stick, these players, because
when there's nothing Gabby said that's wrong up until that last line. They need to be getting more stick. To act like Man United and our players have not had stick this season is an absolute lie. He himself on the biggest radio station in the UK does it frequently. Sky Sports does it frequently. The media does it. And every single rival fan, in fact, every single Man United fan has criticised them. And it's absolutely to a point where we're even ignoring the problems at our club and just blaming on them. I'm seeing people talk about uncomfortable conversations about Rasmus Højlund. Oh, you're surprised that a young, raw striker with an abomination of a system around him, with a squad falling out with its manager, with a club that's been capitulating for 10 years, is struggling in the hardest league in the world. Yes, that's the uncomfortable conversation. Now, that isn't a defense of every individual within that conversation. But to act like Man United don't get stick, don't get pressure, this is just a ball-faced lie. Straight out, unadulterated, goddamn lie.
Blah, 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 blah.
And the Pep Guardiola won't be there forever. And if you look at who they've recruited in recent times, there's a possibility there. If they were to have injuries and rest players, their midfield three would be Núñez, Kovacic, and Calvin Phillips.
Which is average, isn't it?
Which is, I think, all three of those players were either playing for mid-table teams or not starting for top 6 teams.
Yeah, and crucially, none of the three that you just mentioned there get in the Arsenal team. None of the three that you just mentioned there get in the Liverpool team.
Exactly that. But if you think about the players that I've named, Man City last year, everyone was saying, even for the last 2 they have 2 first teams.
Look, everyone always said that about City, and we've already touched on them already in this show. And I really enjoyed this clip from TalkSport with Rory, because that's an element, though, that I think there's 2 things at play here. One, they have bought some average players. I do think Kovacic is average. I thought Matheus Núñez was better than he's demonstrating, but so far he's been awful. And Calvin Phillips is one of their biggest flops. The problem is labouring under the illusion that Man City are not going to address this and address this quickly. So this idea that, because let's just say you don't agree with me and you don't believe that teams are ahead of them or City look much worse in some people's opinion because everybody's caught them and it's a bit of an illusion that they've gone dramatically backwards. Say I'm wrong about that, and it is because they've become complacent and bought bad players. Let's say that theory is right. They're going to address it quickly. This notion that Man City have finished, this notion that Man City have gone, this view that they're going to disappear very quickly, I just think it's wrong. I think they may not be as good as they were last year for 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, say, but they're going to be in title contention, in contention for every domestic trophy, and any mistakes they make, their club will address quickly. Because whether you believe they've got there through cheating or not is irrelevant. Right now it's irrelevant because they're not been found guilty. They are run impeccably well. All their mistakes, all their holes get filled very, very quickly. Generally speaking, in comparison, by the way, as well, to all their rivals in England, who might take 2, 3, 4 seasons, and in Man United's case, a decade or 2 to clear out players that are not good enough. But as ever, people, look, I want you to give me your thoughts, give me your feelings on these clips, on these talking points today. Will Arsenal be scaring everybody come the weekend? What of the Man United criticism as well? Is it over the top? Is it bitter rivals? What's Gabby Abonglaho talking about? We don't get stick. What is this? What world, what planet is he living on during the week? I don't know. Maybe he's in an oxygen tent and he doesn't come out during the day. I don't know. And do you really think Man City have finished an average? Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.